And then everybody at home has my phone number, so text me if you can't hear. We're just getting all of our fantastic new training room controls up and running, so let me know, okay, you guys?
Will do.
Thank you.
Good evening or afternoon, and welcome to Ignite. This is working with sellers. I hope that that's what everyone is here for today, to learn to work with sellers. All right, I see a few of you coming in the room. Hello. All right, so my name is Diller Schwartz. I'm a realtor here in Austin, Texas. I work out of the Southwest Market Center, which is Market Center number 1. I am also a Keller Williams ambassador for Texas South region. And I'm very excited to be here today to help you guys learn a little bit about working with sellers. And if you guys have any questions, I want this to be very interactive. I want you to talk to me. I can see a few of you right now. I can just see that you're in the room, but your cameras are not on. So let's go ahead and turn those on. The goal of Spark, it's for us to help you guys accomplish setting appointments within the first 2 weeks of your career, and then also get those appointments into contracts. This is how you start to begin and start working on achieving that big life, which is why we're all here. Does anybody want to start sharing their why while we're getting started? Just feel free to start chatting, and I'll see it and can interact with you. Also, a reminder, if you need more information on the classes and when they're available, please check with your market center. All right, and today, once again, we're all here to focus on seller opportunities. All right, so here are going to be your live controls. You're going to have the chat window. Next, if you see the small box, it's going to have the hands. You can click that so that I can see that you have a question. Once again, this is going to be very interactive. I hope to see your hands raising. Next, turn on the camera. It's going to look like the little camera. And then next, if you want to talk to me, we need to push the walkie-talkie button. It looks like a small microphone. And a tip, please hold it down. So when you click it, hold it down. And then that should give you the opportunity to start talking back and forth with me. If you're watching this through live stream, you have 3 controls up at the top of your page. Feel free to interact as well. There may be a small delay. I promise I will get to you. We've got some ninjas behind the scenes here that'll make sure I don't forget your questions. All right, any questions about the controls? Does anybody want to test raising their hand so I can see it? All right, great job, Jessica. Oh, Alexis, sorry. Perfect. Okay, and remember, if you're talking, I just need you to hold the microphone down so that I can hear you. Next, please download the participant guide. Right now is a perfect time to click back over to your command and download the participant guide if you have not had the opportunity to do that. And then at the end of this class, please stay so that you can complete the survey and tell us how we did. Your expectations. Turn on your cameras. I want to see your face. Participate by raising your hand. Talk to me through the chat window or holding down the microphone. Downloading the course material, and then also giving us an evaluation at the end of the class. Jessica, I see your hand raised. Are you still raising your hand from the test or? Oh, okay. Perfect. All right, that's okay. All right, let's get started. So what we have today is your 8th session of Spark. So we're going to go through the whys and hows of lead generation. And then after you're finished with this, we're going to go, or the process is that they take you into elementals and the business basics. Does anybody have any questions for me on this? All right. Next up, you'll have the Build Daily Habits. It's a 3-hour session. Is everyone familiar with that? I see some hands raising. Okay. How that's going to work out is it's going to work on building your database. That's a 30-minute session of updating your contacts in Command and writing notes. I like to write simple notes as Susie had a kid, was running off to ballet class. I'll even write notes. I met Alexis and she had glasses on. Just little tips to help me remember when I'm talking to them on the phone, what did they look like and what did they sound like? What were they doing? So when I call them a few days later, I can go right into a conversation which sounds like we really have worked on this, or that we're building our relationship. Next up, script practice. 30 minutes of script practice with a partner. If you don't have a partner, the mirror is great. Grab your kid, grab your spouse, grab a friend. Scripting is very, very important. Lead generation. 1 hour of calling your sphere using the scripts that you've practiced. And next, contract practice. 30 minutes of practicing activities, reviewing the contract, review your local contracts, grab a seasoned agent if you need to, talk to them about tips and tricks on writing a contract, make sure you understand each portion of the contract, and familiarize yourself with frequently asked questions by clients. All right. Y'all ready? Let's get started. What do successful agents do every day? We're going to share with you the secret to being a successful real estate agent, and that is that there is no secret. There is no secret. Success leaves clues, and so we're here to tell you exactly what those agents are doing. They're growing their business and they're running their business. Go ahead and share with me a few things you're doing today. You can just type them in your chat box so that I can watch them. And what are you doing to grow your business today? What activities are you out there doing? Are you lead generating for buyers and sellers? And if so, how? Are you making seller listing presentations and working on getting them from presentation to actually getting the listing, that signed contract? Buyer presentations, getting buyer reps signed, buyer listings, and then previewing real estate. Make sure you know your local market. Go out and do a property tour. Go talk to builders. Go preview vacant listings. That is very important. Next, successful agents run their business. They're going to market seller listings. They're out showing buyers homes. They're negotiating contracts. They're working on transaction management so they can get the contract to close. Vendor management, you want a really nice list of vendors. Setting goals. Compliance and risk management. They're attending training like you guys are today. They're getting coaching and they're managing their money. All of these are important and I'm sure you can see why, right? Can I get a raise of hand? Oh, got another hand raised. All right. I love that you guys are interacting. It makes this really exciting to be on the other side and talk to you. All right, so our goal today is to help you model this. All right, and I've got a question here, or I've got a statement. Somebody said that they're working on mailings, they're working on their 2020 calendar, and they're actively posting to Facebook. All great ideas. Everyone else doing that? Perfect. Okay, so today, working with sellers. Oh, I've got one more. Talking with new clients who are coming in. Oh, Alexis has a home gym that she's bringing clients to, it looks like. And she's also planning who she's going to work with throughout the year, and Facebook as well. Facebook is a really great tool. I hope everyone's on Facebook, Instagram, social media, and now spreading the word of who they are. All right. Let's talk about seller leads. How do you plan to feed seller leads into your database? Does anybody want to share with us? Are you feeding your database? It's very important that you sit down with your coach, your mentor, a seasoned agent, and talk to them about numbers. There's going to be a formula, a number that you need to come up with of how many clients or contacts or nurtures that you want to feed into your database weekly, monthly, on an annual level to get the seller appointments. And then does this number of entries actually match your goals, your listing count goals? Is your database organized? And then is it maintained? What daily habits have you put into place in your workday to maintain your database? Does anybody have any habits they're already forming, they're working on? Maybe a habit you want to work on in 2020? All right, let's keep going. First, step 1, understand who you're working with. Understanding your clients' or your contact's motivation. Qualifying and converting the seller lead. We want to work with people who are qualified, who are ready and able to sell. Then you're going to actually pre-qualify them. We're going to figure out how much time, money, effort, energy we're going to spend on the lead at that given time. And then we have a pre-listing questionnaire that we're going to go over, as well as a presentation that is in Command. It's amazing if you haven't checked it out. Today may be your first day, and I'm very excited to share that with you. All right, so in order to work with sellers, we got to find the leads. All right. Are you currently working on your daily 10-4? Raise your hand if you are. All right, I see a hand. All right. I see someone ducking down a little. It's okay, just put it on your to-do list. Let's do it. Let's commit to doing it. The tools are right in front of you. I've got another question here, or let's see. Misty is working on the DTD2 system from Bold. We've got someone in Bold. Congratulations, Misty. That's amazing. All right. Open houses. Open houses are the lowest hanging fruit in our business. Get them on your calendars, get them on your schedule, go out and do them. If you do not have a listing, ask another agent to help you. To go talk to your market center leader. I know that there are agents out there who need their listings held open. And then also referrals. All right, let's see. Rick is telling us, post the listings of other agents in your office to Facebook as well. Share them, give credit to the listing agent. He says, as a new agent, this helps promote your office listings and you look more like you're active and experienced. Go for it. If you're in Austin, Texas, you need a listing to share, follow me on Facebook, you can share mine. Are there any sources here that we have not listed that you plan on attacking to get seller leads? Is anybody calling expired and withdrawns for sell by owners? Networking groups? Who's going to family reunion with a lot of business cards in a few weeks? All right, I see a hand. You can find me at family reunion as well. I work a really heavy referral-based business, and I would love to meet each and every one of you. So let's get started on that. If you have a previous job, make sure you stay in contact with your past coworkers and let them know what you're doing now. Everybody is here to support you. Make sure your family knows. If you have kids in school, make sure the teachers know that you are a realtor. All right. Next up, qualify and converting seller leads. You want to connect, you want to pre-qualify, and you want to convert. Those are the 3 items that we want to work on once we actually get a nurture and someone's information entered into our database. If a lead tells you that they're interested in selling their home, you need to connect with them. People are going to hire you based off of that connection, right? Make that connection. Feel free to talk to them about their family, about their daily life, about what it is that they're looking to do, what their real estate goals are. Where are they going? Be there to help facilitate that transformation for them. Once you think someone is ready to sell, next up we're going to need to pre-qualify them and make sure that they can sell and that they're ready to sell based on your timeline of getting the home staged, prepped, working on the curb appeal, getting photos taken, and then going live, and making sure their next home is ready as well. Then you can put the majority of your effort into winning the listing, getting it on the market, and getting a paycheck, getting to closing. That's what we like. So connect, categorize, pre-qualify. Are they ready, willing, and able? set up yourself up for a listing presentation and close it. Okay, I'm going to need your help here. Does anybody want to role play or read these questions for me? These are what I personally call the W questions. I really like them. They're ingrained. Okay, so let's review these. When you're trying to figure out who someone is, we're going to just start with that first question. If you would, please tell me a little bit about your family. Very simple, very basic, right? Next up, what? What are you looking for? What are you looking to do? This is where you're going to find out, are they looking to downsize? Are they growing their family? Are they moving? What is their next step? What do they want to do? And can you help facilitate this? Pinpoint their location next with where. Where would you like to buy? Where is your home located? Where are you going? Very simple. Is everyone asking these questions to their leads and their nurtures once they get one? All right, I see a hand. Okay. These are really great questions. Print this page out, carry it with you. Why are you moving? We're figuring out determination here. Why are they moving? What's their motivation? Next, when? When would you like to do this? This is where you're going to start categorizing your database to figure out your A's, your B's, or your C's, and we'll get to that in a second. However, it's very important so that you know where to spend your time. And then next up, how do you plan to do this? You may meet a nurturer or a lead that has a total different idea of what the process is to sell their home, and you need to understand their process and make sure you guys are in alignment. All right, does anybody want to volunteer? Does anybody have any special W questions or pocket questions that anytime they meet someone, they shoot out? Their power questions? I'll give you guys a second to type. And go ahead and jot down some ideas if anything popped up while we were going over that you need to do. I encourage you to take notes this entire class.
Can you guys hear me at home?
Yep, hear you.
So Troy and I had this conversation recently about the who, what, when, why, where, how. And then Troy, do you remember which one I told you to ask last?
Ask last. Of the who.
I don't know if you remember just kind of what we talked about, but you want
Right.
to ask them the how needs to come last.
Right.
Because you'll have to get to, and that's what Troy and I talked about, was you have to ask them the how last, which she did have it on there, but I just wanted to touch on that in case she doesn't go over it, because you're getting through all of the motivation up front and you're understanding why they want to move, who's coming with them, and you're asking them what's important to you about that along each of those questions, kind of, because you're really digging in. Because once you get to the how, that's when people start the doubting and they start the talking themselves out of it, if they're going to, you know what I mean? They start getting to that place of, oh, I don't know how we're going to do this. And that's when you need to start being able to help coach them through it. We're not going to push somebody into something that's not going to be good for them. But a lot of times their doubts are just because it's a scary thing. It's a big process. And so that's when you're able to tie them back to the why, the who, the what, all of those things, you know what I mean? Because they'll forget about it. Change is scary for anybody. So I just kind of wanted to touch base on that a little bit before we move through the next piece. And then, does anybody have any questions around, like she's asking what questions would you ask in a situation like that? Are there any questions that you guys have at I know a lot of you guys in here are pretty new, but any questions that you have that are like, I always make sure that I ask somebody this as a qualifying question that you want to share with everybody else. All right.
All right. I just told you we're going to talk about categorizing your leads. I do this every time I talk to someone. It's just rolling in the back of my head. Are they an A, a B, or a C? Where are they going to go? And I loved when I switched my database into Command just how easy it was for me, because I already had my A's, my B's, my C's, and they were done. So A's, those are people who are ready, willing, and able to do business in 0 to 14 days. These are the people that you're spending your time, energy, effort on every day. And you really want to focus on those guys to secure the appointment. They're hot leads. B, these are people who are ready, willing, and able to do business in 15 to 60 days. Action item here, put them in your database and you want to follow up with them every 2 to 3 days or maybe once a week. These are not the people that you need to be following up with every single day. Next, we're going to have a C category. This is 61 days or more. They're going to be ready to do business with you. So you're going to put them into your database, and you're probably safe calling them monthly, making sure they're on a smart plan so that you're reminded to call them and stay in touch with them. Have your W questions ready, have your power questions ready, so that as you pick up the phone and call them, you see their notes that you took. You know the questions to ask, and you have a relationship built for that phone call. Do we have any questions? Is everyone familiar with the smart plans in Command? They're great. Go ahead, put your mom on one if you're not sure, put your dad on one and get working. Mom's a seller lead. Mom's going to sell her house. You're going to throw on a smart plan, categorize her A, B, or C, and get to work playing around with that. And then also do not forget about the landing pages in Connect for the neighborhood. Those are
I know I've lost clients just by not following up.
Can you guys at home hear the question? That's why I paused it. We just have a question in class. And you guys all feel free to raise your hand at home too. Okay, so say that again.
I know I've lost clients before, like both buyers and sellers, for not following up. I feel like I'm bugging them.
Right.
What do you say when you're calling somebody every day?
So it depends on where they're at in the process. So if they're, you know, like kind of what we're going through right now on the video. So what would be an example? Like, is it where you have seen that, like, oh, I was talking to them and now they just bought a house or sold a house with somebody else?
Yes. Cause I'll kind of follow up on my own and look through Realist and see, and you know. So
why do you feel like you're bugging them?
well, and calling somebody every day, if they said, oh yeah, I think I I'm gonna wait until the kids are out of school, say,
Yeah.
school ends in a couple of weeks.
Right?
So then you call every day saying what?
I would say you don't always have to call every day. It can be various forms of keeping in touch, right? It could be something like, oh, did you see this other house just went on the market in your neighborhood for this price? That's gonna be great for your sale. Or, or if it's a buyer, did you see this house? I thought that you guys might like this. I just wanted to share it with you. I know you're not ready for the next couple of weeks, but I want you to be aware of what's coming on the market and what you're gonna be looking at. Or sending them an email on, like, we've got all of these different resources in Command, like the neighborhood nurture things that just will give them like their neighborhood update.
Okay.
And you can send them something like that. It's just something, I mean, someone else might disagree and say that you need to have actual contact with them, like talking. That's just, I mean, personally, that's what I do, is just to stay on their radar, stay in front of them. And then, just maybe every 3 or 4 days saying, hey, just wanted to make sure that you got the info that I emailed, and if you have any questions. And then also, I think before you get to that point, when someone says, okay, I'm not ready yet, or we're just going to wait another couple of weeks, or we're planning to do this. Okay, awesome. Let's set up a timeline. And you set the expectation right then and there. So you have a timeline of, okay, so this is when you want to sell, or this is when you want to buy. So here's what we're going to have to do leading up to that. We're going to have to get you under contract on this day so that we can close on this day. We're going to have to get you under contract on this day. We're probably going to want to start looking around this time. If you want to be able to start looking, you need to have your pre-approval letter. And to have your pre-approval letter, you need to get in touch with the lender. And you kind of start at their end point and move backwards, but you have that timeline set in place. I mean, and I'll even draw it for people, like as a visual aid, and just kind of like put dates and lines along the timeline. And then just tell them, you know, okay, and so that leaves us here. So in 2 weeks, you're gonna start your first, you know, activity, or your first, you know, calling the lender or getting the house ready for pictures, whatever that might be. So from now until then, here's what you can expect from me. I'm gonna call you and text you a lot. And I'm not trying to bother you. I just want you to know that I'm here for you if anything pops up, because I know that sometimes questions come up along the way. And I'd rather feel like I'm more on, you know, I'm reaching out to you more often so that you're not worried about having to reach out to me every single day. Something like that. And setting the expectation, because it's true, like we say it all the time in Keller Williams, is the fortune is in the follow-up. And you can, you know, we have this exercise, I can't remember. I think I did it at Bold or one of our classes, a handful of classes along the way. But looking over all of the business that we think that we have probably lost as a result of not following up or not, you know, not staying on top of things. And one year I was looking at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, all of these people that I was talking to at some point, and I dropped the ball on not following up on them. And it was over like, I don't know, 100,000 in commissions over the course of like a year and a half that I missed out on because because I sat there and was, like you said, I'm worried. I'm like, I don't want to bug them. I don't want to feel like I'm just being a bother. But if you just get it out of the way right up front, they're going to be happy about it and they know what to expect. So.
And also, I've been doing this this is my third year. Even your friends and family will go with somebody else if you don't follow up with them.
Oh, they will.
Don't expect them to be like, okay, I'll call you when I'm ready.
Yep.
They won't.
Nope.
I've lost some on that too.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean,
you get mad at them and you're not their friend anymore.
right? Yeah. Everybody knows an average of 6 to 10 agents. And so, yeah, if you're not there and you're not staying top of mind and someone else is, it's not even necessarily anything personal, but they will naturally just like, oh, I totally forgot that that's what you even do. And you're like, oh, cool. Like, you know, so just staying on top of that stuff is really, really important. And it will make a huge difference in how much gross commission income you're able to bring. Does anybody at home have anything to tack on to that or any questions so far before I resume?
So far, I'm good.
Thank you guys for just like even unmuting to answer my question, even if it's a no. I really appreciate you. You guys are just like a sound cloud above the room right now because we can't see anything else. So it's like we just wait.
A sound cloud. I like that.
Yeah. It's like the voices above. Anything else? All right, cool. I'm gonna play the video.
At least they're not like the people in the video.
Right? Yeah, it's the same. We have the people on the video and the people on Zoom.
Really great as well. All right, let's categorize our seller leads again. We're going to cover this. Does anybody have any questions on, or does anybody want to share with me the questions they're asking for motivation right now? I'm a nurturer. We've had a conversation. What are you going to ask me? What is the question that you're going to ask to determine my motivation? Somebody asked me a question, and once again, there's a slight delay, so we may need to wait a second. But throw out a question. Alexis, I think you have a question for me. Come on, let's role play. If you'll just press down on the microphone and hold it. Any question, go for it.
When are you ready to move? Sorry if you can hear kids in the background.
It's okay. When am I ready to move? You know, we're really thinking about making the move by the summer. Let's go one layer deeper. Press the...
What's moving you?
Our kids will finally be out of school. Press.
Are they in high school?
Yes, they're graduating. We would like to downsize.
Oh, where are you gonna move to? Where do you plan to move?
We're gonna go to Buda. Oh, I don't know if you know where that is. It's a smaller town outside of Austin.
I'm a realtor in Ohio, but I have a few realtors that I know in there.
Perfect.
Sorry.
That was perfect. She was about to go for the referral. We've got some other questions that have popped up, so I'm going to answer or going to ask those. So Misty says, why is that important to you? She also says, when do you need to be there? We have another one. What made you want to move to that area? And do you have a price in mind yet? All really great questions. I hope you're writing those down. I'll give you a second to write those down. All right, and does anybody have any ahas from this? And in your participant guide, there is a success list. If you will also keep in mind, maybe put a little star by your notes, go back and take those notes and put on your success list. All right, has everybody had time to take notes? Okay, once you get a nurture and a contact, please make sure you're asking permission to follow up with them. There is something about asking someone permission to follow up that when you make that follow up, the connection is it's easier, it's warmer, and you can also follow up by saying, I'm going to use Jessica. Jessica, you know, I told you last month that I would follow up with you this month. Or if it's a really hot lead, Jessica, I told you yesterday we agreed that I was going to call you today at 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. and it's 8 a.m. and I'm ready for our conversation, or I'm ready to answer your questions. So make sure you're asking permission and getting permission to follow up with your leads. And then ask them what's the best way to communicate with them. If you're calling a client who texts a lot, or if you're texting someone who uses Facebook Messenger more, just go ahead and confirm what's the best way to communicate with them. I know that I'm a millennial, I should be texting and I should be using Facebook Messenger. I don't. Just call me. If you have something, just call me and ask me. My phone probably has 30, 40 missed text messages and 20 open Facebook messages. I'm a phone girl. Pick up the phone and call me. So make sure you're mirroring and matching the best way to communicate with your clients. All right, and then also 2 additional asks. Ask for the business. When will you be ready to sell? Just do it. Just ask them. We ask them all the other questions. How's your family? How's your day? How many bedrooms are in your house? We fail to ask, when do you want this to happen? And the second one is ask for the appointment. We all know to give 2 time options. Will 3 p.m. tomorrow work or Friday at 1? Do mornings or afternoons work better for you? Right? And then set the expectations for the appointment. What are you going to do? How long is it going to take? And maybe ask if they have any questions so that you're prepared for possible objections that may come up. And practice role-playing that. All right. Who is pre-qualifying their sellers right now? You have a seller nurture. You've had several conversations with them, and now it's time to go to the appointment. What are we doing to pre-qual? Someone give me some ideas. Do you have a pre-qual questionnaire? Do you have your assistant call? What do we have? Maybe you have not had the opportunity to do this yet. What do you plan to do? All right, I can see, I think one's coming in. Oh, nope, it's just a shadow. Okay, well, let's get into the pre-qualifying and why it's important. Once they've agreed to have the appointment, you need to have a list of questions that make you feel confident going into the listing appointment. I'll give you an example. I once had a listing lead. I was talking to the wife. We talked for probably 2 or 3 months. I was ready to go on the appointment. And then I step into my normal pre-qual questions and I ask her simply, will all of the decision makers be there? And there was the most awkward silence. And she said no. And I said, well, to make the best use of your time and my time, we'd really prefer to have this meeting with all of the decision makers there. She explained to me that this was a divorce. And after we met, she had to tell her ex-husband, tell the attorneys, and then we had to also go by the decree. You know, that could have been an hour of my time, maybe 30 minutes of my time. I'm not exactly sure how long that would have taken to go out to not even have the decision makers present. So be sure you're asking pre-qualifying questions. The best use of your time, you must be willing to pre-qualify sellers rather than expect that each seller lead will just be an appointment that you're going to sign an agreement right there on the spot. Okay, and then in the toolkit, there is a pre-listing questionnaire. I'm going to go over here to command. Oops, sorry, give me a second. Here. Is everybody familiar with this screen? We're going to click on our class today. And then up here, can they see this? There is the participant guide here, and then the toolkit. Make sure you're downloading those tools. If you have any questions, check with your market center and they can help you out with that. All right, Rick says he stole the pre-qual questionnaire from his coach and edited it to put it to his style. Great idea. Once again, we're going to understand the seller's motivation. You should position yourself as the expert. This is going to help you win the listing. We're going to set a little expectations for pricing so that you can price it so that you can sell the home for the most amount of money in the shortest time frame. And then properly set seller expectations, allowing you to create a great customer experience. This is when you start setting your expectations for market information, for pricing, when you're going to answer your phone, who they're going to be talking to. If you have an assistant, this is a really great opportunity to introduce your team so that as your assistant starts talking to them, your client understands they're supposed to be talking to your assistant now, so they're not calling you for everything. This is when we set the expectation of days on market. What are you doing to market the home? How are you going to market the home? Are you going to have open houses? Does the seller expect open houses? My favorite is I like to ask my clients, do they think that I'm going to be there for every showing? That's a really great time for me to understand what my client expects and start setting that expectation. And this is before I have a signed agreement. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Here's a quick example of the pre-listing questionnaire. This is what you're looking for, something very similar to this. And once again, as everything else, practice it. Print one out, grab someone in your office, grab a friend, go through these questions and practice, practice, practice. We're back to role play. And I want you guys, I set the expectation at the beginning that you're going to interact with me today. So somebody give me a question. Let's go. Let's answer those. Jessica, how about you? Do you have any questions? You can just put them in the chat box. And we've got Adrienne. Northwest Market Center, do you guys have any pre-qualifying seller questions you want to share with us? Oh, he says no. Okay. Okay, please work on this. These tools are here. They're really great for you to use and be prepared so that when you walk into your listing presentation, you're ready to go. You're ready to put your A game on and close that deal. All right, the listing presentation is our next.
There's no.
We have an in-class question.
So, I actually do have a question just because, I mean, it's kind of regards to this, right? So my neighbor, she's a like a potential seller, right? And
Right.
she's waiting on her new build and she's like ready to go. She wants to like, list it. But her husband's like, like I told you, he doesn't want to sell it until like the beginning of August, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, I know it's like to be checking on them and everything. But how would it be a little bit more like, since we're like doing like this role play and stuff, how would it be like to be a little bit more like, let's get the house on the market now instead, because they're gonna close their new house on the 26th
Of
next month.
August?
Yeah,
Okay.
it
so
takes 30 days to close.
exactly, and
Yeah.
I explained the process, like I laid it out for them and everything, but he still, doesn't really want to be pushed, like, and I told him too, I was like, we can have also a buyer that can give you an extra 30 days, rent back free and everything, like, because that's how the market is right now.
Yeah.
They're willing to work with you,
Right.
like, you're basically, driving this whole thing, it's on you guys. So, but he still doesn't feel like he wants to be
Okay.
like, pressurized, I guess.
So did you guys at home hear the question?
Yeah, most of it.
Okay, so, she's working with a potential seller and they're closing on a new build on August 26th. Wife is ready to go and wants to sell the house, but the husband is not ready yet. He just kind of doesn't want to be pressured. He doesn't want to be pushed. And what did he said he wants to wait for
Until like the beginning of August. 'cause
beginning of
he just-
August.
Yeah, just because he doesn't want to feel like rushed or anything.
Okay.
But I feel like even then, it's gonna be even more so,
So if he's telling you.
And the
that-
house is already paid off too. They have another house around the area as well that they're renting, so, they're just saying, they say like it's not really something that should be rushed or anything like that, but like I kind of want to make them see like, hey, so you really don't go rush, like let's just put it on the market now and we can.
So what I would say is, because I know you had this meeting with them a couple days ago. So what I would say is, I would call and just say, hey, when is a good time that I can talk with the two of you? I was thinking about our conversation and I just wanted to share a couple things with you. And then get a time on the calendar with both of them, because they're both decision makers, obviously. And I would just say to him, well, to both of them, hey, I know that that you don't want to feel pressured. I know that you don't want to feel like you're rushed or anything. And I don't want to make you feel rushed in any way. But it's my job as an agent to look out for what's in your best interest. And what I think is in your best interest, I'm going to share with you. So that being said, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the future holds, but what I do know is that we've had an extreme seller's market for a really long time. And in the last 3 weeks, we've seen it slow down every single week. And so it's shifting, it's turning more towards a buyer's market. And so I understand that you don't want to wait. And at the same time, I don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. And what I would hate to see is if the market slowed completely down because everybody's trying to get their kids back into school now. And that's when we see slowdowns happen anyway, every single year. I would rather that you get on the market now when there's a hot, there's a lot of activity and it still is more towards the seller's market, because it could end up saving you thousands of dollars. You might not get as many offers. You might have less flexibility in terms of when someone comes in and they, if they know that we've shifted to more of a buyer's market at that time, they might be more willing, more likely to beat you up on inspection and beat you up on appraisal and all of those other things. Because right now, they're just throwing caution to the wind, and it's like whatever the seller wants, we'll give them that. But it is slowing down, and eventually it's not going to be like that. Is it going to happen tomorrow? I don't know. Is it going to happen next week? I don't know. But the more time that passes, the closer we are to getting there. And just tell them, I would just say it like that. Just like, I'm just looking out for what's best for you. I don't want you to feel pressure. And I just want you to know this is what we're facing. And if you still want to wait, that's fantastic. If not, I've got a plan where we can just get you going here in the next week, and you don't have to worry about showings until next Friday. Kind of like what you and I talked about.
Yeah, okay,
Does that feel
yeah.
okay? All right, anybody at home have anything to tack on before we play the video?
Britt, would you, if they kept like him and Han, would you mention, post occupancy related things? Like we can get your house on the market, we can get it closed, and then we can have you guys take a little bit of time before your next house. And we work on a post occupancy kind of a agreement if necessary, or even when it comes to maybe a financial related things, talk about how much holding costs are you accruing by sitting on this house that you're going to sell, and yet you still got to make mortgage payments, you still got to make tax, all of your other payments and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, and in this particular instance, she's saying that their house sounds like it's paid off, and at the same time, there still are carrying costs, obviously, because they're going to have overlap between having this house and having their next one that closes on the 26th, right?
Right.
So I would still mention the carrying costs of each house, and just saying, it's fine if you guys want to have this overlap, and that's going to relieve some of this pressure because you guys want more time. And maybe also clarifying, is it the time that you need to move out of this house? Because you're still going to have closing period, like you said, could be anywhere from 21 days to 45 days. And right now we have the leverage to ask for that. We can ask for a longer or a shorter closing. And then we can also ask for that post-close occupancy on the back end. So really, I'm glad that you brought that up, Troy, because if that is what they want and they're needing that time for moving, it's like, you just have to figure out, where is it that he is feeling the pressure? Is he feeling the pressure now at the beginning of the transaction? Because that's all gonna go in,
Yeah,
like,
that's exactly like where I'm trying to actually, see
yeah,
why is he really feeling pressured? Because if the house is already paid off,
right,
right? And if he's feeling like being on the market, everything's just gonna be too soon,
right,
but then again, if it's in the beginning of August, then that's actually more pressure, because that's 26 days, that they're actually gonna have a closing.
right,
So it's just like, where is it actually?
yeah.
Where he's feeling that pressure.
And I
Because
was,
if the wife's ready to go, like, let's get him on the same boat.
right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I would, and maybe even too, asking him that, just say, hey, I heard your concerns the other day, and I just want to know, where is your concern mostly? Are you more concerned with what you guys need to do to get the house ready to go? Are you concerned about the showing time frame? Are you concerned about the under contract to closing time frame? Or are you concerned about the after closing time frame and the moving in process? And just kind of break it down for him like that and say, because here's what this is going to look like. Here's what this is going, you know what I mean? And walk him through each one, because the more clarity he has around it and what to expect, again,
Right.
that's gonna
Yeah.
get him there. And then he can share with you at which point of the transaction he's most concerned about, and then you can kind of speak to that. And then share, like I said, with you about
And
what's
that's
going on with the
something I
market.
did with his wife when I first, spoke to her on the
But he wasn't
Saturday,
there.
but he wasn't really
Yep.
there, so like I was more thorough and like just
Yeah.
more in depth with everything and details. And on Monday, it was more kind of like, more rap type thing, so it was just more
Yep.
kind of like basic, but I should have been a little bit more fully detailed like I was, with his wife.
Yep,
And so I think that's why, even though his wife might have told him some of the things, maybe it wasn't still at the same level.
right, because she's on board, because you got to have that conversation with her,
Yeah.
and you didn't get to have that full conversation with her.
Exactly.
Which is fine, because now you can kind of go back to it, like I said, and just tell them, hey, I kind of was thinking about it, and I really just want to share some things with you. Whatever, and it's just, you're looking out for them, and
Right.
you know what's best. You're the professional. They wouldn't have asked you for professional help. They would have gone FISBO if they knew, if they thought that they knew everything. So that's what you're there for. And that's also kind of, what we've touched base on this morning with the video is making sure that you are having the full conversation with all decision makers of the household, which I'm sure we've all done it. I've done it a handful of times where you're like, oh, this one wears the pants. I'll totally just talk to this one and we'll figure out the rest of it. And then you realize, oh, wait, no, the other one's not on board and we need to get them both there. So now I have to recap everything and make sure that, which, whatever, it's fine. It's not, you'll still get there. Daria, did you have something that you were gonna?
Well, with this particular situation, like the beginning of next month is like 10 days away.
Yep.
So would it be okay to handle that in a way of like, okay, I understand, you don't want to put on the, until the beginning of August, but that is coming up. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and start getting your house ready for pictures.
Yeah, well, that's another great point. And that's kind of what she and I had talked about the other day. And I don't know how many of you I've had this conversation with yet. But typically the strategy around listings would be, you get the photos, you get those all uploaded, you get it into the MLS on maybe on a Wednesday, I think, or well, a Wednesday or Thursday, because you can't go into coming soon for longer than that. That's that MLS period. And I think it's the 7-day period. And it better be because we're recording. But anyway, whatever the MLS period is for coming soon, and you have the listing in coming soon until the following Wednesday. And then on Wednesday, you go live, active, and then you don't allow any showings until Friday or Saturday. And that builds up the awareness. It gives you all the time to get as much, reach as many people as possible and get them all excited. And then you have, your showings are booked immediately throughout the weekend. And then by Monday, you're able to make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a great way to handle that situation, because
Yeah.
it still takes a couple of days to make an appointment to get the pictures taken, takes them a couple of days to declutter.
Yep.
I think in this particular instance as well, it's the most important to figure out like maybe what is the underlying cause of him not wanting to, like, he might say, oh, I feel like rushed, like this is too much pressure. But in his head, he might be thinking like, well, this is already paid off, I might want to rent it. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
So,
we discussed that, but like I said, he already has another house too that he's already renting, and like from what I got from that time with his wife, it's like, no, because their house is like literally one of those model homes, like, over 3,000 square feet, and it's just beautiful, like, and it's just them too.
They already have it all
Apartment.
nice.
Yeah, like super nice,
Not much to clutter.
painted, nothing really, carpet is nice, everything, like, it's intact, like from front to back, like even the backyard. So they're like, we don't wanna rent it to someone and then they end up destroying it, like the other home that they're actually renting is like some like family member, they know they're like very, very meticulous clean. So I was like, okay, so they don't really wanna do that just because, you know, they don't know these people and they don't want their house to get damaged, so they'd rather just sell it.
Right.
And just, you know, go on with a new one. Yeah, but for sure, I'm gonna follow.
Okay. And as you said, Jamie, I think that it is important to figure out why. And so that's, I think that you'll be able to tie that into that conversation of saying, where in the transaction are you feeling the most pressure?
Right.
Is it now until we list? Is it here? Is it there? And then you go over that timeline again with them and say, here's what we have to do. We got to get pictures first, then we do this, then we do this, then we do this. And if you've already done that, then you recap it with them and just say, our first time frame is this time frame. Is that what's giving you pressure? Okay, great. After we go under contract, this is our next time frame, and this is what this will look like. Is that what's making, and then once he tells you yes or no, then you can ask, you can dig into the, okay, why are you feeling that way? Or what is making you, you know
And
what I
then,
mean?
Yeah, and then after that, just back it up, like how you were saying, of how the market's been,
Right.
you know, this last couple of weeks.
Yep.
And how it's going to be just because of the kids going back to school. It's
Right.
like nothing really guarantees it.
Right.
So I
And
think
just all we have is the market that we have right now. We don't know what to expect tomorrow.
Exactly.
So I would really hate for you to miss out.
Right.
So. All right. We've got about 20 minutes left on this segment, and then we'll take a break after that, and then we'll jump into the next one. Does that sound good? Are you guys, everybody's awake still?
Is the next one with this lady too?
Probably. All right.
Step. Who here currently has a listing presentation? Will you just raise your hand? All right, perfect. Nice hands there. Okay, the benefit of this presentation and taking the time to put it together is so that when you walk into a client's house, you're ready to deliver. I can tell you that sometimes I'll do, 3 or 4 listing presentations a day, and I am exhausted because you're on stage, you're performing, you're on it, you're asking questions, you're scripted, you're ready to handle objections, and your energy is through the roof and ready to go. So know your listing presentation. My listing presentation, I almost have a 3-part. I do the pre-qualification on the phone, and then I do send out a pre-listing presentation. Mine has a very brief resume about myself. It has my current stats with my team, and then it has a little bit of information on who our team is, and then it also has some expectations of working with me. Very brief, but I do like to get that out. It's also a great touch so that in between my phone call and my appointment, I can fill that gap with them seeing my name. All right, we're going to switch over to Command. I'm going to show you where the listing presentation is. This is Command. I hope everyone is logged into this. We're going to go right over here to the left to Designs. You're going to click on that. And then if you go to the search bar at the top right under your photo, on this one I'm going to search for listing. If you've already created it, it's going to show up right here. In this case, this is brand new. We do not have a listing presentation, so we're going to click on Create One Now, Print, Next. Over here to the left, if you haven't played in this area of Command, there's a lot of options here that you can play with. You can make really great marketing. Today we're going to go to the listing presentations. So we're going to, it's I don't know, about the 7th one down under Just Sold. We're going to click on it. And then there's 2 styles for you to choose from. There's a more classic style and a more modern style. You're just going to open it up. And then we're going to get to work on editing it. Please go through here. Feel free to edit it as you wish. Make sure all of your contact information is up to date. Make sure there's a photo of you. Make sure you remove any of the notes that Command is giving you instructions on what to do. Maybe have a second set of eyes review the content before we send it out. Okay, I'm going to jump over to a question real quick. It says, they ask, what if you're new and not on a team? What should you share in your resume portion of the presentation? Really great question. So we're with Keller Williams. Share Keller Williams information. Hopefully that's why you're here. Go to your market center and ask, what are your market center stats? How many listings do you guys have? What is your ratio in this city? I know in our market center, on our Facebook group, Melanie is always posting really fun stats of how we've dominated Austin, Texas. So if I was a solo agent, I would just use that. And I would point the energy and the marketing towards Keller Williams and why you're here, right? Because we do this together. I say in Austin, Texas, Keller Williams sells 1 out of every 3 homes sold. That's not me, that's not my team, that's Keller Williams, that's my broker. So dig into your market center information. Yes, and then Kara is also adding on here, she's saying information about your market center. There you go. You can also look into your past career and share talents. I mean, if you're a great communicator, share that you're a great communicator. If you're very tech-oriented, you're going to sell listings through your ability to market them on tech platforms, right? We all have other skills. It doesn't have to be necessarily, I sold a million houses, or I've had 500 transactions this year. Remember at the very beginning, I said people want to work with you because they relate to you. So find that relationship, sell yourself. Jumping back to the listing presentation. So once again, before you print this and send it out, make sure you're removing some of the instructions and comments that are talking you through how to edit this. Love this page. It's going to be prepared for your clients. Make sure you remove the KW DBA name and put your market center information there. Check with your broker if you're not sure, and then, adding your name and information at the bottom. Same thing, if you don't have a personal website, share Keller Williams. Go talk to your market center and get the information there. Pro tip, I personally like when I see agents use the Keller Williams email address, diller.schwartz@kw.com. If anybody has an Austin referral, that's me. But diller.schwartz@gmail.com or at Yahoo, at AOL. I really want to see KW, the logo, the branding on this page. And I think clients would appreciate that as well. It looks a little more professional. Next page, and I'm not going to go through all of these, I'm just going to slowly walk through here. Add some personal photos of here, add the listing. If you don't have the latest listing photos, or if you don't have a photo, I know in our MLS you can go to the old listing and maybe take one of just the front of the house. But don't stress about it if you don't have the content right away. And then just click through this presentation and make sure you go through each page. If a page doesn't make sense to you or it's not resonating with you right now, simply remove it and get back to it. Add that as one of your daily to-do lists, is to go and master page 5 of your listing presentation. Okay, we have a question. Or this is a statement. All right, Kara says, if you're stuck on a section of the presentation, you can ask your PC, your TL, or MCA. PC is your productivity coach, TL is your team leader, and your MCA, I should know what that means, but it's Market Center Administrator, yes, for best practices in your market center or area. Any questions over this? I'm going to go back one more time and show you how I found that. Well, okay. So from my dashboard in Command, I'm going to go down here on the far left-hand side and I'm going to click Designs. It's about, what is that, like the 7th icon down. This is going to show you your templates that you have. So I'm going to search for listings or listing presentation. Once again, we haven't created one, so I'm just going to hit Create One now. I'm selecting the print version. And then I'm going to the left-hand side of the screen and I'm going to go to Listing Presentations and then Get to Work. Any questions? Okay, what's the best way to get comfortable presenting this? Practice. Practice, practice, practice. Ask someone, and I would say go for it. Ask the person you feel the most uncomfortable presenting it to. Right? Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Ask a friend, ask a past coworker, ask someone in your market center, ask an agent. And I'll tell you what, there's other agents that are in your situation, so form an accountability group. We're going to meet every Tuesday at 10 o'clock and do our presentation. Set up cameras, be your own worst, best critic. Record yourself. I think we all have an iPhone or a smartphone. Record yourself. Your computers have cameras, and go for it. Be okay making a mistake. Let's see. We've got some more questions here. Okay, so Mindy, I do not have the answer for your question. It's a tech-related question on saving after editing. However, we have ninjas in the room, and I'm sure that they'll take care of that. We've heard you. Okay, I have another question. What's the best way to present this? By printing it out or presenting it on a tablet or a laptop? I personally have all 3 versions of my listing presentation. I have a printed version, I have a PowerPoint version, and then I do have a simple PDF version. My advice to you is going to be, first, do what's comfortable, and then mirror and match your client. If you're talking with a super tech-oriented client, you may want to have the tablet and then say, I'll email this to you afterwards. You may be working with someone who needs it printed, who wants to go page by page. And that's why I said earlier in the when you're pre-qualifying your client, and really from the first step of communication with them, start mirroring and matching, right? If your client starts saying, just send it to me in an email, just send it to me in an email, they don't want to do with paperwork, they don't want an MLS flyer, you're probably going to need to have it ready on a tablet. And then same thing when practicing. Practice flipping the pages so that you get there and it's not all over the place. Practice swiping, and then make sure it works on maybe different types. Send it to your friend who maybe has a Samsung or an iPad, just so that if your client gets it, you can walk them through and troubleshoot any issues that they may have with your presentation or the presentation. And then take notes. If you keep getting asked questions that maybe aren't in your listing presentation, go back and create a slide and add it. You know, if you have something specific about your farm, maybe there's a community center and everyone's asking you about the progress there or something like that, add that slide and then take it out, right? Be flexible. Okay, any questions there? Is that a question or a hair flip? Oop. Okay, not a question. All right, we're going to move on. Okay, let's get back to our presentation. Spend 10 minutes a day practicing your listing presentation. All right, let's get to, does anybody want to try their listing presentation real quick? Anybody want to go on it? Anyone? Is that a question? Does anybody want to give it a go? One slide, just try it.
Print these out, these listing presentations.
We have an in-class question again. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so, okay, so you can print these out, but I'm just curious, can you also like she's saying, just do a slideshow, maybe like on your tablet, like
Yeah.
instead of having to, always paper?
You don't have to, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, it's like whatever everybody's preference is. I have never really had an actual printed, I don't really ever take a printed presentation. I've had, slideshows in the past and just kind of gone through it there. Some
Right.
people, kind of like Heather was just mentioning is, like we talked about the disc profile test. I don't know if you were here when we talked about that the other day,
Yeah.
but people's different personality types. Some people are gonna sit there and they're gonna wanna look at every single thing you have and look at your entire presentation and read it front to back like it's a novel. Other people are just going to skim through it and see what's there generally. Some people are gonna be like, yeah, cool, like, thanks for bringing this, toss it out the window, and why don't you just explain it to me yourself? So really, it's your own personal preference. That's kind of like, there aren't a ton of people who require an actual printed copy anyway. Sometimes it's nice to just have those materials because it makes you seem a little more polished and put together. And that's just something nice that you can hand them that's tangible. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you do that too with the slideshow ooh.
Oh, yeah.
like-
Either way, yeah, definitely. I 100%.
So maybe have one of each.
Well, yeah, and a lot of
Yeah.
people like to have one of each. It's like, hey, I
You
have
can do
this
that, like,
slideshow.
if they're really seriously interested, like in selling, so like they can recap and just go, here's a list. Like,
Yep.
yeah.
The other thing that's nice about having a physical copy of something is that you leave it there. They're typically not going to end up like throwing it away immediately. So it'll probably sit on their table and their countertop for a few days. And hopefully there will be other people there that come in and out of it, and then they can look at it and see like, oh, hey, look how nice this stuff looks. Oh, look who it's branded with, or look whose business card is on top of it. And it's just, some free marketing for you. So not free because you paid for it to print it or whatever, but. All right, we've got about 8 minutes.
No? Okay. So throw out some ahas. Tell me what you've learned so far. Questions? Remember, the expectation of this class is for you to participate, or I'm just in a room talking to myself. Come on. Anything? Jessica, do you have any questions? Misty? My anonymous typer who's typing in? Do we have, okay, we have something coming in. And if I'm going to go back real quick to the market center information. If you're not familiar with the stats and you're like me, you're not one of those people who just like to spit out stats, that's not how you communicate. Sit down and talk to someone about it. Ask a seasoned agent to go over what these stats mean. And then also your local MLS will have a lot of local stats and reports that you can pull from. So if there's one that really resonates with you, pull that report, know it. It could possibly, it doesn't need to be a whole book. It could just be one image that you feel comfortable talking about. Use your resources. All right, so one aha, get to know them and get to know your what, why, and who questions. Great aha. I love this one. I need to get into command and create my listing presentation. So it comes up as anonymous. However, whoever typed that, can you reply with when are you going to complete that task? I'll be your accountability partner. Tell me when that's going to be wrapped up. I believe I heard Gary Keller once say, if you ask 500 questions, you show 5 homes. If you ask 5 questions, you show 500 homes. It's kind of the same with the seller. If you're not asking 500 questions, you're going to have a house that sits. You're going to constantly be chasing. You're going to have 500 seller leads and maybe one listing. So ask, ask, ask. I've got another comment saying get into command and make the listing presentation. Go ahead and start telling me when you're going to do this. Give me a deadline and we're going to hold you accountable for that. Someone else just said they're going to work on pre-qualifying. Start working on it today is what I just got. Okay, perfect. All right, so, got another one. I think practice, practice, practice with different personalities. That's a great one. Work with different personalities. Work with the people who make you uncomfortable. Become great at completing CMAs for presentations. That's a really great tip. Okay, and then I have another one coming in from Cindy. It says, for market center information, see if your market center has prepared the language of real estate. It's a great tool. Cindy, is that a link that your market center prepares or a posting that they put out? Someone else says, you're on stage, practice and know your scripts. Okay, so the goal of our time today and through Spark and Ignite is to help you think, act, and feel and use what you're learning here and get passionate about it and help you create your big why. Please make sure you're using your all of your tools in the toolkit, writing your ahas down, tracking your achievements, asking questions. Okay, Cindy says that her market center prepares a flyer for the language of real estate. So it's a flyer in her market center. If we have any team leaders or productivity coaches on the call, maybe that's a tool. If you're not using it, that would be great for your agents. All right. And then this was really going to wrap up our class here. So in your toolkit, you should have your success list. If you don't have it in front of you right now, it's okay. Just write on a scratch piece of paper, download this, and get that information transferred over. So if you would, just take a few minutes to write down, what do you need to do? I saw here practice. A few agents said they actually need to get into command and create the listing presentation. How are you going to be held accountable for your goals and what's most important of the top 5? Go ahead and write 5 down, jot them down, and then put those in order of importance. If you really want to push yourself, put a deadline on it. I'm going to do it today. I'm going to work on it this week, and I'm going to have it completed by Monday, and I'm going to start presenting it to my peers on Tuesday. Can you push yourself to think that far out right now? And I can tell you, if you were in the business 3 or 4 years ago, we didn't have this presentation. We literally had to go and figure it out. So this is a really great tool that's going to shave off some time so that you can get directly in front of clients. Okay, someone says they're currently working on their presentation while listening. Can we really multitask? They took it away. Okay. And then someone says they're going to get started today. I like that answer there. Does anybody have any final questions or ahas they want to share with me? With everyone else who's watching? All right. Well, thank you guys for all participating. I hope that you finish Spark, come back and take it again. If you have any questions, go back and watch the videos and really use all of the tools that you guys have through Command. Talk to other agents. I also hope to see you all at Family Reunion next month. And then here is the survey for you guys to complete and give Keller Williams all the feedback so we can continue to give you.
All right, let's go for a 10-minute break and then we will be back at 10:35.
The training. So it's on Candy.
morning, good afternoon across the country. My name is Matt Teeter. I'm the Director of Leadership Coaches with MAPS.
Hey, Britt, I can't hear him.
We can't hear it either. It's because I just said that I was doing so well with everything and then it stopped working. So
That's Murphy's.
I just got really excited about how well I was doing on everything. 1 second. Is it the video sound? What application? Can you guys can still see the same screen, yeah?
Yeah, I can see the screen. I just couldn't hear. I mean, I barely could hear him talking.
Okay, 1 second.
To partner with you today on
Just kidding. We are going to.
lab. What does that mean? It means that I'm going to ask permission to make mistakes. I'm also going to ask permission to read the material along with you and review it. And we want your feedback. Just know that we are doing everything in our power to bring you the most powerful material in partnership with Keller Williams University to make sure that Ignite creates the experience that you desire to put a deal under contract in 2 weeks or less and close a transaction. And we've got to lab it. And that's what we do here at Keller Williams. So your feedback's important. And if we make any mistakes, just know that we're going to blame it on it being a lab. And that's okay. So that being said, your goal of the Spark section of Ignite is an appointment in 2 weeks, is an appointment within 2 weeks. And so that's what we're going to be taking on today, is we want to make sure you're able to do that. Now, if you have questions, you can join us at slido.com. And our number today is 1437. You can join us at slido.com. You can see it on the screen. And our number is 1437. So you can certainly send your questions in there. Okay, so we're going to get started here in a day in the life of a real estate agent. Just real briefly, for Connect Live, here's some of the controls that you have to be able to utilize if you're working with us in Connect Live. And if you're going to participate here with us live, right, we'd love to have your camera. Raise your hand for participation. Understand that there's a chat window if you're live with us in the room that you can ask questions on as well. You also have Slido. That you have your course materials with you and available, and that you know that we're going to have an evaluation like we do with anything. So if we make too many mistakes, they just won't have me back for a lab in the future, and you'll get somebody else. The other piece of the evaluation, with all kidding aside, is how could we improve? What could we do for you to make this the best experience for you in Spark and Ignite moving forward? Okay? So let's take a look here. Ignite is 4 weeks where you learn the foundations for success, including your daily success habits. The first 2 weeks are called Spark. And Spark is your incubator for success, where you learn how to set a successful mindset, lead generate, and get the confidence of a seller or buyer in your first appointment. That's what we're here to do, and we kind of have that visually displayed here in front of us. After learning the foundations and developing some successful client relationships in the Spark section of Ignite, you're going to move into the elementals to learn the skills that you need to take those appointments to a successful closing. Connect Live Ignite will include Spark and elemental learning modules. And the daily success habits run in the market centers for 3 hours following the learning module. So we're going to spend 60 minutes here, like you have over the course of time that you've been in this material, and then you're going to build those daily habits in that 3-hour session in your market center, which includes building your database for 30 minutes and putting contacts in command, script practicing for 30 minutes with a partner, lead generating for an hour, and contract practice, which is 30 minutes of activities reviewing and familiarizing yourself with frequently used contracts. That becomes so important because when you're asked a question in a live appointment, you want to be able to answer that question, right, about a contract or material and not necessarily look like you're reading it for the first time. So, wow, that's so important too. So since this is a day in the life of a real estate agent, let's look at what successful agents do every day. See, our goal of our time here is to model what successful agents do every day and show you how to do it as well. Today, we're bringing it all together, examining how a successful agent structures their day, and we're going to be using what you've learned in practice so far in growing and running your business to revisit our 411, update our goals, and develop an accountability system to achieve those goals. If you look at what we do successfully as an agent every day in our materials, we're growing our business and we're running our business. So when you think about growing your business, there's a series of activities, right? We're going to lead generate for buyers and sellers, make seller listing presentations and get listings, make buyer presentations and get buyers and sign buyer agreements, right? And preview real estate. Then we're going to run our business on a daily basis. We're going to market those seller listings, show buyer houses, negotiate contracts, transaction management to closing, vendor management. Well, okay, so we should probably stop for a second. What does vendor management mean? What does vendor management mean? Let's think about it. Vendor management is there's a lot of people that will be involved in your real estate transaction. There's mortgage companies, there's title companies, there's insurance companies, there's many people that will be involved. So your ability to continue to manage the relationship of partnership and make sure that you have the information from them and you're moving the contract forward will be very.
Okay, I wanted to share with you guys, oh wait, looks like we have some chats. Oh no, you're good. We are working on a vendor list to hand out to everybody in the office as like an easy button. So basically just having an entire list of people for anything that you might need in a transaction. It's a quick like, oh, let me check my list and call it. That's definitely going to bring you some value. And at the same time, like we talked about before, if you want to utilize and leverage your vendors as sources of referral business, probably not the best way to go about it. So it can be either way. And you can absolutely have the referral conversation with those vendors and understand they're on everybody else's list as well. So you can, doesn't mean you can't do it, but maybe it's kind of, something that you still will always want to be looking for, as many vendor options to have in case that certain things fall off, in case somebody is busy. So just make sure that while utilizing that list from the office is great, you still would be best practice to kind of have as many as you can in your back pocket. I would recommend.
Well, some of them only service different certain areas as well, so you're gonna have like.
That's
different
true,
ones for
too.
different areas.
Yep, some of them charge a travel fee and stuff like that, so.
And do you just like Google, like?
You can
certain types of
Google them.
contractors?
Yep, you can Google them and that's actually, one of a great way, kind of a great source of lead gen too, is just calling through and being like, hey, I'm looking for a vendor partner. I'm an agent. I used to have, you don't have to tell them that you're a new agent because they might want to work with you more if they, who knows? They might want to work with you more if you are, if you're not, whatever. You can just tell them though, I'm an agent. And I need a new whatever vendor in my back pocket. I'd like to work with you as a referral, a source of referrals. And I would like the referral sources to be, or the referrals to be reciprocal, like we talked about before. And, what do you think about a partnership like that? Or how would you, do you want to, let's set up a time to meet and talk about what it is that I do for my clients and what it is that I expect in a referral partner. And then you just have that whole business conversation. So then you're showing, and it's an opportunity to show them your value that maybe they might want to use you themselves, but they're talking to just as many people as you are. So
Okay.
just throwing that out there.
Very important. Just because the mortgage company says they have it, with love and respect, let's make sure we stay in partnership with them so that we're all on track with the deadline and the client has the most important information. That's what we mean there. Setting goals. for our business and for our growth and our timelines. Compliance and risk management. We should stop there. Compliance and risk management. What do we mean by compliance and risk management? Well, there's management aspects of our time. That's what we're going to talk about today. What do successful agents do? There's aspects of managing the vendors we're in business with. Those are the people that we partner with to close a transaction. And there's also the concept of compliance and risk management, which is, remember that 30 minutes a day that you're going to take after this section, and you're going to spend some time looking at contracts and understanding what they say? That's actually one aspect of compliance and risk management. Other aspects of it are when you have questions, concerns, or in the worst case scenario, something happens in a transaction where there's conflict or dispute about the agreement. This is going to be where you're going to be in conversation, communication with your broker as to how you're going to resolve that and win-win for all parties and move the contract and the transaction forward, if at all possible. That's what we mean there. Okay, attend training and get coaching, absolutely, and managing your money. Okay, let's keep moving forward. Oh, by the way, that's seems like a busy day. That's a pretty exciting thing to do for a living. Right? And here's the really cool thing. Having some experience in that and having the experience of so many people that have been with you so far, it is an incredibly exciting career to be in real estate on a daily basis. You hear people say things like, I want a career where I don't have the same thing happen 2 days in a row. Well, you've found it. And especially with the schedule that you just looked at, it will operate that way. So let's dig in even further into a day in the life of a real estate agent. And what we're going to do is we're going to provide a view of a successful agent's day. What does a real estate agent truly do? And why do we say it's a full-time position? Why do we say it's a full-time commitment? Well, if you got any questions about why it's a full-time commitment after the slide we just covered, we're going to answer those too. Here we go. So our roadmap for the day, you're like, well, we've covered so much and we're just getting started. Our roadmap for the day is to cover a day in the life. And we're going to do that by talking about how you grow your business and run your business, set weekly and daily objectives, create accountability, and we're going to do some recap and some ahas. Okay, let's check out this quote. In the book, The One Thing, Gary Keller quotes F.M. Alexander, educator and thespian, who says, people do not decide their futures. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. What does this quote tell us about how to cultivate success for ourselves? What does this quote tell us about how to cultivate success for ourselves? Let's think about it this way. Gary Keller teaches us that our thinking, our current way of thinking, leads to the behaviors that we have, which lead to the habits that we form. Those consistent behaviors become habits, right? And leads to our key relationships. And I love the commentary and feedback that what it tells us is that we create and we take on our habits, and the success will come with it. That's exactly right. That's exactly in alignment, Sammy, with what Gary Keller says, which is that it's our thinking, then our behavior, then our habits, and our key relationships. It's the same thing we're saying here. That's excellent. The goal of the session that we're taking on is to develop a plan on how to use your time effectively to fulfill your mission. To build a career worth having, a business worth owning, and a life worth living, experience worth giving, and a legacy worth leaving. Starting habits now that will ultimately create the future that you want for yourself. And by the end of this module, you're going to have an updated 411, time block your calendar, and develop an accountability plan with your accountability partner to be able to go from thinking about the day in the life of a real estate agent and a successful professional to taking the actions or the behaviors of doing those things and laying that out in your schedule to building the habits necessary in the relationships to execute on that. What do you think successful agents do every day? I'd love to get your feedback on Slido.com on 1437. I'd love to get your feedback live here in the room. What do you think that successful agents do every day? I know we've got
that lady that they sent out of that used the referral, she's like, yeah, it's amazing. I just like, my assistants just like do that. And then, I'm so sick. I like go on a vacation every other week.
Well, and I paused the video because we had Heather mentioned that it sounds like the most important thing is lead gen. And so I wanted to touch on that there are, like we've kind of gone over, there's the 20% of activities that gets you the 80% of results, right? And lead gen is in that 20%. And I would say that it is probably it is the most important, because if you're not doing lead gen,
How do you get business?
exactly, your business isn't coming. And that's the thing too, is as you look through, like, the millionaire real estate agent and all of the different ways to grow your business, to start a team, to grow the team, to do an expansion team, everywhere along the way, your main job is lead gen. If you're that's what your biggest thing is. And then you get people, systems, models in place to leverage all of the other things so that you still are focused mostly on lead gen. And that's the thing too, is like, as a new agent, there's all these things that come your way, all these different things that people are throwing at you, different types of marketing materials, different types of, listing presentations, all of that stuff. And if you do nothing else and get none of that other stuff together, and the one thing you focus on is just figuring out your lead gen, the other stuff will come. But that's a very, very, very important success habit to form, is your time blocking and your commitment to that lead gen time block. So set yourself up to get there every single day. I'm sure he's going to touch on that again too, but
Yeah, it's like a few pages down.
is it? Oh, good.
A piece of material that covers it. And yet, what do you think? You know some successful agents. Many of you are successful agents. What do you do every day? I love lead generate. I love lead generate. Absolutely on there. Lead generate, lead follow up. Great contribution. Completely agree. Absolutely on there. What else? What else do successful agents do every day? Lead generate and lead follow up. Okay. They keep on schedule. They keep to their schedule. Yeah, they absolutely do that. Absolutely do that. Let's think about this. When you begin your day, right? Practice scripts. Oh, I'm glad I saw that. I'm glad I turned and saw that one. Really good. Yeah, you got to practice. Here's the thing that's so interesting, and you're nailing it, because here's what's so great about this. What happens that successful agents do every day, and you all know what they do. This is the cool thing. You already have the knowledge of what you've got to do. We're just going to talk about how we put that together, and you can take the action and build the habits. That's the greatest part. So the first thing is you get in the mindset. Think about what Gary teaches us. The mindset or the thinking and the motivation to have the energy to take these things on, right? That's the very first step. In coaching, often we talk about the reset button. That's a way to think about it, right? How do I reset my energy? How do I reset my energy? How do I drive my energy? So at the beginning of the day, you get motivated by reviewing your goals and you plan your day. And the motivation activities will vary. That's kind of the starting point. You can see it in the calendar we have for today. As a team leader, in the beginning of my career, first thing in the morning when I started my day, what I would do was watch motivational and inspirational videos. Now, that was the option that I took on. That was what drove me, right? Another thing that I would do, it sounded like a rave, probably, if you walked by, maybe, right? Is I was blaring music. There was loud music on, okay? And I'm watching motivational, inspirational videos. And so People are screaming. There's loud music on. Now, if you walk by that, it's a little crazy. That's true, right? And yet, I want to get myself in that mood so that I got a lot of energy. I'm pumped up. I'm also enjoying some things. I'm thinking, right? And I was taught also that, we're going to talk about 401 here at the end of the day. I was taught by a coach that if I completed my 401 and I taped it to my computer screen, that when I walked in the office in the morning, I could read it. And then I would flip it over my computer screen, turn on my computer, and start my day. Motivational videos and inspirational speakers, blaring music, right? Getting that on, right? I have all that together. I've reviewed my goals. I'm really getting focused as to what we need to do. Now, that's me. You may think that's the craziest thing in the world. You may start your day with yoga. You might start your day with meditation. You might start your day by, we know clients that walk through nature. That's their thing. They walk on the beach. That's their thing, right? Let's think about how we can start our day with this motivation building time, with that reflection time, with that focus time. You might be a lunatic like me, and you got to get pumped up and drive it that way. Find the behavior and the habits you can form that gets you into the best version of your focused self so that we can take a step into moving forward, which is now we're going to lead generate and lead follow-up. If we're looking at this schedule, we've got that 8 to 8:30 motivation building time. I challenge you to consider script practice in there too. Challenge you to consider script practice in that motivation building time in there too. Because what we say, right, and knowing how to say it can be as important as actually saying it when we learn the words at a really high level. And that's where things like BOLD and other activities teach us that too, and that's really exciting. Okay, so we have that. Then we go into our daily success habits, right? That's that lead generation and follow-up. You all nailed that. We asked what successful agents do. You already know. It's lead generation, lead follow-up. We get excited, we get plugged in, we focused, we practice a little bit what to say, then we start saying it, we generate, right? Then we follow up on what we said. It's pretty natural. Then lead follow-up. Then you eat your lunch. Yeah, you eat your lunch. You eat your lunch. Now, some people laugh when we talk about putting lunch on a schedule, right? Like, I don't need lunch on my schedule. Of course I'll eat. Here's the crazy thing. Think about that slide where we said you're going to grow your business and you're going to run your business. And as you're going to spark your business, you're going to ignite your business, you're going to be doing so much business in a couple days, you're going to be going, whoa. And here's what can happen. Lunch sometimes gets removed, right? That can happen. So you block it in your schedule to assure that you eat. Because here's the thing. Notice you start your day with energy. That's that motivation. Well, food, last time I checked, is also energy. You're going to need to reset that. And it gives you a little bit of time to think, right? Maybe go on a walk again. Maybe you do that. Maybe you look at your goals again. Okay, now we're going to run our business activities. Marketing listings, reading, and negotiating contracts and attending trainings. Okay, that's running our business. It's learning what we need to do. It's executing on what we need to do for that 12:30 to 2:30. Then we're going to grow the business activities. Previewing real estate. Wow, is that important? Wow, is that important? Previewing real estate. You know, Gary's taught us to become the local economist of choice. And if you think about previewing real estate, what most consumers can't access is what it actually feels like and looks like inside that home or at that property. I can see it on websites online. I can see it on different places, right? I can search it on your website as a Keller Williams agent. That's the best place to direct them to, of course. And yet, I can't necessarily feel the property or experience it. And as an agent, the more you see that, experience it, make those comparisons, can talk about it, the more power you have, right? The more of an expert that you become. Wow, previewing real estate's important. Making seller presentations. Yeah, we gotta make presentations, right? Here's the cool thing. Activity is an instant thing. You can decide and take action. Skill develops over time. That's not a fun realization sometimes. That skill develops over time. So we take the action, and as we make more presentations, you'll get better, and you'll get feedback, and you'll grow. And you meet with clients. Absolutely, you meet with clients. Every day, meet with clients. That's an exciting thing. That's the fun part of the business. That's how you'll grow and earn the income you desire. Then you review your calendar for tomorrow. Pre-planning tomorrow is important. And you notice we are a God family business company, right? And so you see family time come up next, right? Family time come up next. So you've done your work, you've been purposeful in your hours at work, and now family time shows up. So grow the business activities are the seller listing presentation, the buyer presentation, and preview in real estate. Run the business activities. Let's go through them one more time. Marketing seller listings, showing buyers houses, negotiating contracts, transaction management to closing, vendor management, setting goals, compliance, risk management, attending training, getting coaching, and managing your money. And at the end of the day, agents look ahead and time block for the next day. That's so important to look at tomorrow's calendar. Now, I'll raise my hand and tell you that I definitely have double booked myself throughout my career. Wow, have I screwed that up. I've made a lot of mistakes. You're sitting there going, I know, you've made 20 during this presentation. I get it. And yet that being said, the way to avoid double booking yourself and making silly mistakes is you check your calendar. And you look at tomorrow and you go, ooh, maybe I'll send a text message out or an email and I'll flip that time, or I'll slide that slot, or I'll move this, or right? It's a way to actually be more professional, interestingly enough. And it's not that you're unprofessional, it's just more preparation. And it allows you to be able to, when you get into that motivation building time, maybe you're like me and like other successful people, and I'm sure you are, where when you look at your day in advance, you get yourself in the mindset necessary to succeed in each presentation or each opportunity that you have. It also allows you the ability to do that. Okay. By the way, we got to put our big rocks in the calendar first. We got to put our big rocks in first. Y'all remember that story, right, where we have the bucket, the vase, right? Okay, it's a clear vase. And then we have the option of putting the big rocks in first and then gravel and sand, right? Or we could put the sand in first, right, and put the big rocks in last. And we all know that we put the big rocks in first so we can fit everything in, or as much in as we possibly can. Your life and your schedule operates the same way. If you make the decision to put the big rocks in your schedule first, that lead generation, that lead follow-up, that motivational time, the execution to achieve your goals, if, God forbid, something happens and you don't accomplish everything else you have in your schedule, you've accomplished the most important things that day. Does this make sense? Let's get our big rocks on our schedule first. And so it leads into a natural question, which is, why would we start the day with lead generation and lead follow-up? This is a live stream, right? So this is also a live question. Why would we start the day with lead generation and lead follow-up? I didn't freeze, right? I'm just waiting for your answers. Okay, right? I love Sammy's answer here in the room. She says, because they're the big rocks. They're the most important things to make sure we achieve our goals. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we know that lead generation is the core of a successful agent's business, because the more potential leads that you're generating, the more business that you have. Simply put, right, we also got a response, right, on Slido that we start with the big rocks and lead generation is most important, and we know that agents do that. That's exactly right. So simply put, we've heard Gary say before, right? We've heard Gary say before that we either in our business have a lead generation problem or we have a conversion problem, right? We either don't have enough leads to achieve the conversion necessary to achieve our goals, or we have enough leads and we're not converting at the level necessary to achieve our goals. So when you look at it, successful agents know lead generation is the fundamental aspect of filling the pipeline to generate enough leads to convert to achieve their goals. Okay, we'll keep moving forward. Now we got to set weekly and daily objectives. Okay, got it. And just ignore anything else that you may see in the frame right now. Okay, let's take a look at, right, we gotta have fun, right? That's the important thing. We started by saying that we were gonna make mistakes and screw things up. If we don't make mistakes and screw things up, we wouldn't be meeting your expectations. Okay, now, let's take a look at opening up your 411. So go ahead and open your 411 from last week. Give you a second to get that open on your computer, right, or pull it out on your desk and put it in front of you. So go ahead and open your 411 up from last week. And I'd love to see on Slido and in the chat some got it's or some it's open, so I know it's open. I'm seeing thumbs up, right? I'd love to see some Slidos, it's open. Just give me the time to open it up. Okay, now that you've got your 411 open and it's in front of you, and you've been through most of the Spark, you may want to adjust your goals. The cool thing about the 411 is it's a living document, right? The cool thing about the 411 is it's a living document. What that means is that you have 52 opportunities to update it and adjust it throughout the year because you update it weekly. And so you've been through more material, you've covered more in Spark, and you may want to adjust your goals. So your new knowledge that you've obtained throughout this course may actually influence your weekly and your monthly performance to achieve your annual goals. Now, what's also really cool and exciting is some of you may sit there and say, okay, I got to run my business and grow my business. I'm starting to figure out my time block schedule. I've got my annual goals. I'm doing the daily 10-4. I'm taking on the activities. I'm attacking what I need to do. And you know what? I'm getting some results. And continued on this track, and based on the behavior that I have developed into habits, I might even be able to adjust my annual goals up. You may think that too. You may be able to do that. So what we want to challenge you to do is revisit your 411. And we've got a blank 411 in your materials that you can actually go back into and update if this conversation has caused you to think, you know what, I am in the perspective of making some changes, right, and being able to adjust and update that. So let's take a look at how we're going to use our weekly goals in our 411 and turn them into daily SMART objectives by applying the 80-20 principle. Whew. Okay, that was a lot of words. Let's break it down. There's this concept called the Pareto principle. And the Pareto principle says that or the 80-20 principle, right? That's what you see in front of you. You can help prioritize and focus on what's most important. And here's what we know. Vilfredo Pareto could win the award today for one of the best names, or rhyming names, right? Well, I digress. Vilfredo Pareto, an Italian economist, discovered that 20% of our activities yield 80% of our results. And when our actions are not focused on the 20%, we don't get the results that we want. So the 80-20 principle may be counterintuitive, and yet it works. The converse to the 80-20 principle is also true, meaning that 80% of our effort yields 20% of our results. Now, we've referred to this differently earlier as the big rocks. Your 20% activities would be those big rocks. So here's a different way of thinking about it. Stephen Covey analogizes our time to a bucket, and we can only fit so much in our bucket. And how we fill it matters. If we start by filling the bucket with sand, we won't have room for the big rocks and the gravel. We've talked about this. We'll keep going. If we start with the big rocks first, then we can add the gravel and sand, and it'll fit in the space left over. Sand and gravel are the small things. They're the 80% that only yield. They're the 80% that only yield 20% of the results in life. If we start with the big rocks, or the 20%, then we'll get those things done and we'll be able to fit in the gravel and sand, the 80%. The 20% are the big rocks. You've already addressed it. We've talked through it. Now you're seeing it, and you're seeing it in an image in front of you, labeled there as well. So start by identifying your big rocks and looking in your weekly goals on your 411. To really plug into this, if you take the participant guide that you have, you can go ahead and flip to page 5 in it. So let's actually drill into this. What are the big rocks that make up your 20%? What are the 20% activities? What are the big rocks that make up your 20% as a real estate professional? As you're responding in the chat box and you're responding on Slido 1437, I want to also challenge you to take a few seconds to write down your big rocks based on your newly updated 411, or what you will need to do to update your 411. So we're just going to have you take a few seconds and go ahead and do that. Write down the big rocks. Now, if as you're doing this, you think to yourself, this seems like an oversimplification of my career in real estate. Or can it really be I write down my big rocks and I achieve what I desire? Here's what you consider. When we looked at the run your business and grow your business slide, there's definitely the opportunity for complication in the way you operate this business, with how many things happen on a daily basis. Activities like this are excellent personal leadership activities. It's a focused activity of saying, what are the simple things or the focused things that I can do that allow me to achieve my goals? So that's why we're stopping you and slowing you down to write down those big rocks. So as you write them down and you've gotten them written, go ahead and share some examples in the chat and on Slido. What did you write down as your big rocks? I love, somebody wrote, calling my sphere. Calling my sphere. That's smart. That's really smart. Lead generation, lead follow-up, negotiating contract, go on appointments, script practice, and role play. That's somebody who's taken bold. Love that one. Call in my database, open houses, and follow-up. Sammy, you're nailing it. These are big rocks. These are big rocks. We're seeing the concept of script practice, lead generation, lead follow-up, appointments, and negotiating contracts continue to come up in this conversation. Somebody said that they're going to door knock their farm. Door knock their farm. That's excellent. We know an agent in California that door knocks 100 homes on a daily basis and netted over $1 million last year. Wow. As a singular focus, that's pretty smart. So, okay, we've got a good grasp on our big rocks. And you're nailing the activities, you're nailing the focus, you're on track, you're doing a great job. Let's keep going. Let's look at setting smart objectives. Setting smart objectives. So, turn your participant guide to page 6 or page next. I'm not certain if we labeled the right page. KWU does a great job in everything. Maybe I screwed it up. Just turn to the next page. It'll be there. Okay, great. When you're developing your daily objectives, focus on how to measure progress towards the goals that you identified. Identify the targets that will facilitate your success using SMART objectives. Okay, what does SMART stand for? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. Okay, what do we mean by that? Well, specific is you clearly define where you're going. That's specificity, right? Specificity is also a word that when you learn how to say it, it's like a party trick. People struggle with it. We'll keep going. We're just having fun. That's specificity, though. That's being specific. Measurable. You establish concrete criteria for measuring progress towards the attainment of each goal that you set. Measurable can also be thought about as quantitative, right? Or to use a word that's not so big, you put a number to the darn thing, right? How do we measure this? Now, the cool thing is, what we measure, we can grow. What we measure, we can grow. So that's cool. Okay, achievable. Goals should be challenging and match to the time that you've allotted for their completion. So achievable. Now, you know, you could be in this course and it could be your very first time experiencing getting started and launching your career in real estate. You may just have gotten your license. And if you set a goal of taking 100 listings this month, you absolutely could do so. And there's going to be some aspects to the time that you allot and the skill set you currently have that might be hurdles to that. So a more achievable goal would be looking at the time you have allotted to lead generate and lead follow-up, the pipeline that you've generated, the leads that you have, and your skills in conversion. And maybe you say you're going to take, well, maybe you'll take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 listings in your first month, right? Based on all of those factors, the achievability of those pieces. Okay, relevant. The goals, when they're met, each objective it achieves moving you closer to your weekly, monthly, and annual goals. When you're setting these SMART objectives, it's in attachment, in the concept of attaching this to your 411. What do I do each week, each month, and each year professionally to achieve my goals such that I can fund my life by design and my goals that I desire personally? Are they relevant? When we achieve this, does it allow me to move forward through that process? And finally, timely. A commitment to a deadline helps you focus your efforts on urgent tasks first. Well, let's just think about it. Each one of us has had a vacation coming up imminently in the next couple days or hours. Have you ever had a vacation before? Have you ever had a lot of things to do before you left? And what's interesting is many of us have the experience of you had a deadline, you had a lot of things to do, and you got them done based on that deadline. So setting a time stamp or by when you'll complete the goal can create urgency for you to move things forward and progress a little bit faster or to make sure you achieve them. Okay, that's SMART. It's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. So what we're going to challenge you to do is use your revised 411 to enter daily SMART objectives for each day. And say that again, because we covered a lot of content, and now we're asking you to do something. So take a look at your revised or how you'll revise, based on today's conversation, your 411, and enter daily SMART objectives for each day. That would be extremely purposeful. Okay, we're just taking a moment because you're entering SMART objectives for each day. At the very least, you're writing in your notes, it'd be a good time to write in your notes what some SMART objectives would be for each day that you could enter into your schedule. So go ahead and Write some of those SMART objectives down. Somebody who is anonymous said, I'm starting my SMART objectives with the daily 10-4. That's good. That's a good way to connect us all together. There's no rule that you have to complicate any of this. The secret in this material and the hard work that KWU does and our company does in partnership with you is if you just follow the plan and the plays, you can win. And thousands of people have done that before you, and you absolutely can do the same thing. So I love that. I'm just going to follow the material, and my SMART objectives are going to start with the daily 10-4. That's smart. Okay, we'll keep going. All right, time blocking. Time blocking. Putting your big rocks into your calendar. Time blocking is simply dedicating specific periods of time to specific purposes. Not any more complicated than that. Putting the big rocks in our calendar and making a commitment to preserving that time. Here's some things to remember when you time block. Block the most important tasks first. Okay, so they're going, I think we've covered that before. We have, and yet it's an important thing to say. Block the most important task first. Don't try to time block every minute of your day. I love that because there is no try, so just don't time block every minute of your day. That's a little bit of bold screaming in my ear, you're reading the word try. And so that being said, don't time block every minute of your day. Why would we say that? Why would we say don't time block every minute of your day? I'd love to see some feedback on that. What do you think? Some of the feedback we're getting is that there's a lack of feasibility to time blocking every minute of your day. What happens, has there ever been a time when something came up that you didn't plan for? And has there ever been a time, right, here we go, right, love the feedback, people are right on top of it, we're in direct partnership today, it sounds like we're communicating well, because somebody said random things come up. Yeah, so there's been times in your life where random things come up, and yet you have important things that still have to happen. So if we don't have the room in our schedule to adjust those important things and or to take on the random things, it's exactly right, by the way, someone else said because life happens, if we don't have the time to adjust in our day, right, or have some movement in our day, then actually what's interesting is it can create pressure. And it creates undue pressure on you. We don't want to create undue pressure. Remember how we started today. This is a day in the life of a successful real estate agent, and it's fun. Like Gary Keller said before, we want to operate our business and go, whee, as we run our business. So we'll keep doing that. Okay, be careful not to confuse time blocking with indiscriminately filling your calendar. Be careful to not confuse time blocking with indiscriminately filling your calendar. What we mean by that is just putting anything in your calendar because someone asked for your time. Ask yourself the question, does this fit my big rocks? Does it allow me to achieve the goals that I desire to achieve? Is it aligned with my weekly, monthly, and annual goals? Does this fit something that's smart for me to take on? It's just not indiscriminately fill our calendar. So access your calendar. Here's what we want you to do. Open your calendar. You can open it on your phone. You can open it on your computer. Go ahead and open it. And we talked about those SMART objectives. Some of you said the daily 10-4. That's a good one, right? That's a good one you could use. Using those SMART objectives that we just talked about, enter your time blocks into your calendar. Right? It might look like something like the calendar that we showed you earlier. And I'm going to go back to that so you can see that screen one more time. So we're going to go back. Everybody breathe. Going back. Whoa, okay, we got there. Here we are. So let's take a look at this screen one more time. It might look something like this. And with your responses on your 20% activities and your big rocks, it probably will. Okay, we're taking some time to write down and jot down our big rocks and put them in our calendar, to grab blocks in our calendar as to where they're going to go. On your phone, in your computer, your handwritten calendar. If you're like Gary Keller, you have a handwritten calendar, right? Maybe you have both, digital and handwritten. So no matter what happens, you're ready. Okay, we're putting some time blocks in. Here we go. We're going to move forward. We're going to now create accountability. Create accountability. In the one thing, Gary cites Dr. Gail Matthews, who found that individuals who wrote down their goals are 39.5% more likely to succeed. Individuals who wrote down their goals and shared progress reports with a friend were 76.7% more likely to succeed. Wrote down your goals. What does that sound like? A 411 maybe. Maybe a 411. Maybe you'd use a 411 to do that. Probably. That's what we're going to suggest. Yeah, you could do that. Okay, now, writing them down and sharing them with a friend gets us up to 76.7% more likely to succeed. Okay, in coaching, we call this an IQ test. If I asked you a question and I said, if you could take a couple simple actions, and I could tell you statistically, you would be 76.7% more likely to succeed, would you take them? Yes or yes? Right? Absolutely. We love that. So in the next section, we're going to look at how to use accountability cycle to maximize our success and exploit that 76.7%. Let's look at it. Accountability is a crucial part of achieving goals. When you report to someone else that you've done to make progress on your goals, you gain more focus and motivation. Accountability can be thought about as a process, and it's difficult to maintain drive over the long term, yet when you have to defend your activities to an objective observer, it becomes easier to stay focused. Gary shared the other day that he has a personal trainer, and he shares his athletic goals, he shares his goals for health with that individual, and that individual holds them accountable to activities to achieve them. Well, it allows them to be more successful. This is the same idea. Accountability is about getting and using feedback. You take time on a regular planned basis. That's really important. We'll say that again. You take time on a regular and planned basis to meet with whoever is holding you accountable. You look at your numbers and you refocus your efforts. So, what's it look like? Well, let's look at this process. Set goals, do the activities, measure results, evaluate the process, and make adjustments. You guys can read the screen. It's an attitude and an approach. It's a tool for changing and achieving results. 76.7% more likely to achieve with accountability. And it's a dynamic cycle, not a static cycle, or not a static concept. See those mistakes? They'll be there. That's what labs are for. Not a static concept. Okay, that's really, I love those words. What do we mean by them? It's dynamic because the accountability offers feedback where we can change. Static would be we just keep going the same way. No adjustments, no feedback. Okay, so here's the interesting thing about accountability as well. When we look at your guide, I'm actually going to open up your guide. I have it here in front of me too. So take a look at that participant guide on page 7. And look at the quote at the top. So powerful. Gary Keller says, until you're willing to have someone hold you accountable, you can't hold others accountable. Interestingly enough, and as a simple example, that's why every one of our MAPS coaches has a coach. Right? And so that quote, until you're willing to have someone hold you accountable, you can't hold others accountable. So here's what we'd like for you to do as an action step. Share your goals. Today we've been talking about those goals. You've been setting them the whole time. We made some adjustments to them today, right? Or some thought process adjustments to your 411, your goals. We're going to have you share them. What are your long, medium, and short-term goals? Share them. Plan your check-ins. How often do you need to check in? And what's the method of communication that's ideal for you? And this is about using an accountability partner. So you're sharing your goals with a partner, someone else. You're planning your consistent check-ins and how you're going to communicate. Is it a weekly call for 15 minutes? Is it a daily call? Is it a daily text message? We challenge you to get in person if you can, or at least over the phone. Here's what's cool. We're on a live stream. We can see each other. It's really great, right? They also have Zoom, right? There's things, right? You can do this. Find a resource that allows you to connect. And then finally, you make a date. Well, we're talking about time blocking and schedule. Let's put it in our time block schedule. When and where will you meet to check in? So when you have a partner, a couple other things, they should fill out the information about their productivity plan. And if you look at page 7 in your guide, this is how you'll execute on these 3 steps. The partner should fill out how often that they'll meet, whether they'll meet in person, how you're going to call each other, text message, whether it's going to be email, how you're going to check in. We talked about that. Add your accountability check-ins to your calendar. Add them to your calendar. We know we're saying that, and yet it's so important to do. Share your goals, plan your check-ins, make a date. Okay. Woo! We're making it. We're doing it. You're doing it. You're mostly doing it. Right? You're doing the hard work. Promise you. Right? You're doing the important work for your life and your business. This is really cool. Let's look at recaps and ahas. Oh, let's stay here and look at recaps and ahas. See, you're well on your way to build the thinking, the behavior, and the habits that we know from this really cool red book that we can read and reread called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent that are going to lead to your success. We know that. People have come before us, and they've used these exact same methodologies. Actually, that's what KWU does. They study top producers and successful agents consistently, and they provide us updated material of what the most successful people are doing to help us succeed faster. That's kind of why they exist. It's amazing. So let's look at the ahas to achievement as a recap. The goal of our time is always to help you think, feel, act, and use what you've learned in Ignite and these Spark sessions to ignite your passion and help you achieve your big why. Right? Our hope is that you're taking this away and saying, okay, I can use this. I'm seeing it. I'm going to be successful as a real estate agent. I see the tasks and I know what to do. It's becoming clear. Or you're adjusting based on being an agent before as to the things that you can do. So take a look at your ahas to achievement in the participant guide. And I'm already seeing ahas come in. Let's just share some of your ahas that you're having. One of the ahas is time blocking isn't just filling my calendar. Wow, that's so smart. That's so smart, right? It's amazing how smart Anonymous is. And whoever wrote that, you're really smart. You're really smart. Right? That's right. So let's just go through these questions and think through this as you share more ahas. How has your thinking changed? What ideas or mindsets were new? You can't hold others accountable if you're not willing to be held accountable yourself. Wow. Yeah, that's Gary Keller. That's smart. That's smart by you, Anonymous, and it's also smart by Gary Keller. That's true. What do you feel differently about? What was meaningful to you today? Accountability is about having a partner and being consistent. That's great. Hey, Kay, awesome job, Kay. Understanding what the 20% is. Yeah, what's a big rock? What's the 20%? What do we do with that? That's really good, Kay. Great job. You're our favorite right now for this moment. You're nailing it. How will your behaviors be different going forward? What actions will you take going forward? Think about what tools, models, or systems will you definitely use? You may differently use them, and you're definitely going to use them. How will they make you accountable? You know, if you take the time to reflect on what you've learned, you can accelerate your growth. So let's take a look at creating a success list. Take a couple minutes now and continue. Oh, by the way, somebody else said they're going to post their 411 by their desk so they can keep looking at it. That's really good too. Great aha. Great aha. The system doesn't have to be complicated to lead to success. Wow, is that important? You know, again, Anonymous and Anonymous, the two of you, great. If it's one of you, really good. Really good. Let's look at creating your success list. Let's take some time now, and let's also continue after we wrap up here. Creating a list of the tasks that you need to complete related to the session that we have covered so far today. We talked about a lot of things where we said, okay, take some time to do this, take some time to do that. When you look at your participant guide on Spark 9, A Day in the Life of an Agent, it's all in there. It's all in there, so review that. Write down your success list, what you're going to take on, and denote whether it's a to-do or a should-do, right? Then prioritize your should-dos by putting a number by each item, and one would be the most important. So briefly, as we continue to wrap up this conversation, we saw some of the ahas, and some of those ahas seem like they could be priorities of the tasks you're going to take on. Does anybody have the priorities that you're going to take on, right? Or the very first thing based on today's session that you're going to do immediately? I see one. You're going to put accountability partners, put an accountability partner in your calendar. That's a great priority. That's a great priority. What else are you going to do as your number one priority based on what we've discussed today?
All right, so let's have that conversation together then. What priorities are you guys going to put in place today, or what are you going to do from all of the ahas that you had today? What's your first thing that you're gonna do? Legion. So tell me more about that.
This page looks insane. So I figured like 4 hours a day, because I really obviously starting out, I have no business, so I got to. So I'm gonna block out 4 hours a day to do Legion. So basically like 9 o'clock till lunchtime, which is usually about 1 o'clock. That's 4 hours. And then obviously follow up, I know is super important. So that's kind of like my next thing. And I do want to make sure I stay focused on doing like those handwritten cards. Because it's obviously good for others and it's just another touch, but then it also is, important for the internal of ourselves.
Yeah.
And then I kind of like have some like flex time. So that might be, it's hard to tell. Practice. So like, reading through contracts, but of course I won't have to do that like every single day. That's why it's kind of flex. And then working on presentations, of course, won't have to do that every day too. That's why it's kind of like flex time. So then that's when I could be like, if someone calls and it's like, well, this time works for me, and I'll look at it and be like, oh, that's my presentation time. But I'm like, but I can do that because those appointments are what lead to results.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Yeah.
And when you guys are scheduling lead gen, it is really important to schedule in what type of lead gen. So no matter what type of calendar you have, if you have a handwritten calendar, a digital calendar, whatever, don't just time block and call it lead gen. Because that's gonna get you, like, we talked about talking with your clients about setting the expectation. So set the expectation with yourself and plan ahead and say, okay, on this day for this hour, I'm going to lead gen by calling my sphere. On this day for this hour of lead gen, I'm going to lead gen by calling expireds or FISBOs or door knocking or whatever. And make sure that you set yourself up for success, that you're ready for that type of lead gen when it comes time, because otherwise you'll sit there. And like we said, once you're getting into these activities, we try to talk ourselves out of it. Or find all of the reasons why we can't do lead gen right now for whatever reason. That tends to be one of the biggest hurdles. And it is the most important thing. So make sure that you're prepared for it and you know what's coming. Okay, that's really good. And like you said, yeah, as a new agent, you don't have any business. So your biggest thing to do is go get business, right? Who else had an aha or a priority? Every time I say that, has anybody watched Modern Family? And she's like, this could be your ha-ha moment. And she's talking about ahas, but she says ha-has. That's all I keep thinking every time he says aha. But yeah, who else? What else do you guys have?
I need to just make a schedule. I very much got into the habit of, going camping during the week, day drinking with my friends.
Anything that, yeah, she's like,
Yeah,
I don't have a
binge
boss.
watching,
I don't
yeah.
have, yeah. And I'll get to my stuff later.
Uh-huh.
Yep, and that's easy to slide into that habit as well after you have a couple of under contracts and you're like, oh, we're on our way to closing. It's fine. I have a nice big check or two coming in. I don't really need to worry about it today. And so that's what he was talking about, like building success through habits. So I had taken a note, and I know that I've talked to some of you guys about atomic habits. Oh, here, let me actually get us.
And I kind of want to add something, like one thing that helps me to make sure I get my stuff done at the beginning of the day is just looking forward, and that's how I've gone through like all the things I've been through in my life. It's just like looking forward